Okay, let's see if we can get Mira on. Yay! Hey Cobra, good to see you.
Hello.
Hi, how are you today?
Good, good. How are you? I'm Sylvia.
Hey Sylvia, I'm so excited to have you on. The title of today's Instagram Live is Fertility Tracking Reimagined. And we're lucky enough to have the CEO and co founder of Mira Fertility on. So, Sylvia, I'll let you introduce yourself and kind of why you started Mira.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm really happy to be here. I'm Sylvia. I'm the CEO and the co-founder for Mira Fertility. So Mira Fertility is the fertility tracker, and we track multiple hormones from your body, like your LH, estrogen. We're launching progesterone and HCG as well. So we're tracking everything quantitatively, and you can do that at home. So you will get a hormone number, more like a hormone concentration, just like what you're doing in the lab. So this will give you much more clarity than if you're just getting positive, negative for one line versus two line or so on. And also, Mira helps you to get pregnant, helps you to avoid pregnancy. Even you want to track your treatment progress for hormone imbalances or for early miscarriage or sign for that, all these are controlled by the hormones. So that's what Mira is doing. And for myself, I started Mira about 5 years ago, and the reason being that I had so much education. I went to master in biomedical engineering at Columbia University, and then went to MBA from Cornell, and then I was working in a really big company. So we have been focusing so much on my career and education, and I had so many friends, like girlfriends. They're just like my background, and then I had a really close friend, and she started to trying to conceive eventually about 35 years old, and
Mm.
then she just can't get lucky, and this lasted her about a year, and she went to see doctor so many times, and the doctor said you don't have any problem, and your husband doesn't have any problem either. You guys are just unlucky, or we call this unexplained infertility. And this just doesn't sit well with me because what can you do, right? So when we have a problem, we need to know what can we do better, or where the issue is at. But this unexplained infertility thing, it just really you cannot really take any action about that. And then
Yeah.
I started to look for information online, and I found that many people actually face the same problem. And then we think that, okay, so if we can have a tool that can help people to understand better about their ovulation, about their cycle, and this tool will have to, understand the multiple hormones and their correlation as well. Because if you just, understand one hormone, sometimes you see the ovulation, but you really don't understand what is the problem behind this issue, because our body works as a whole thing, controlled by multiple hormones up and down. So, and I couldn't find any tool. I was just trying to help her. And then I think, okay, so this may be something we can do, because I have a science background. I also have a business background. So I say maybe we can do something like that. So just to, the initial goal was just to help the family and help women. Especially I want to support. I'm really passionate about, supporting women to do more in their career, in their education. We have to bear children, or that's already, very challenging for someone who has to balance the family and their career. So there should be some scientific tool that can ease this journey a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you have such a robust and pertinent background to have brought Mira Care to market. So, your biomedical engineering degree is from Columbia. So the fact that you had the skill set to actually, address this gap in industry, I think it's phenomenal what you're providing for families. And so for everyone that's just joining right now, oh, we have someone that says Mira has helped her so much. So I think it's incredible because, you have the clinical data to show how well it works. And so for everyone joining, it's an at-home, essentially fertility test that monitors not just estrogen but luteinizing hormone together. As you said, you can track progesterone as well. And why that's important and how you differ from other companies on the market is you actually use AI. So the more times that you test, it's tracking to an app. So
Yeah.
you're putting the power back in the woman's hands for them to be able to really understand that fertility window. And this algorithm that you've created has been like proven to do that, right? So can you tell me a little bit more about, the testing that you've undergone and what the results were like?
Yeah, for sure. So yes, so you're completely correct. So Mira has two, I think, two major differentiations in terms of product feature. The first one is we test all the hormones quantitatively. So we give you the actual hormone number. So then why is that important? Because every woman is so different, every cycle is so different. Even you're very, very healthy, you're young, but your cycle this month can look very different from next month. You can kind of tell that by your period length is almost never exactly the same days. It can fluctuate. You can still consider, sometimes I'm 28 days, sometimes I'm 32 days. Okay, this is regular cycle. However, it's not that exactly the same. So, by giving the actual number, so you can see the curve of your hormone, you can also see the pattern. And many people actually found it very interesting. They always, once they purchase Mira, they always find something interesting about their own body. Like they tend to ovulate earlier, tend to ovulate later, or the hormone level is higher, hormone level is lower, and they start to have a like more like aha moment. They say, oh, now I understand why I never captured my ovulation, or now I understand why I never got 2 lines on my OPK. Things like that. So that's very, I think that's the accuracy that's very needed by our consumers because of the huge variability. And then another thing is, as you mentioned, is the algorithm. Since we're all different, we need the algorithm to find the pattern for us. And the cycle tracking is a long-term thing. If we just track for one cycle, we never know if we're fluctuating, we're regular, we're irregular. It's like, doing a testing you for one day. You don't know how healthy you are across the whole period of time. And our body works for longer term, and your health is more like holistic, comprehensive thing. It's not just about one time point. So that's why we need an algorithm to help us to analyze the data. So the algorithm we build will analyze your data, will tell you what to do, and also will start to predict smartly too. So if your cycle tend to be shorter, the prediction will predict a shorter cycle, or you're gonna go longer cycle. Even if your cycle fluctuates, or hormone imbalances is a problem, and it will probably ask you to test more often on the days that's more like suspicious for ovulation. So there basically you can understand this as the there's kind of like a smart algorithm or like expert is taking a look at your data all the time. So it will tell you when to test. It will tell you the maybe certain things you need to pay attention. Ovulation can be earlier or later. So this is something we cannot really achieve by an OPK or even by writing down the numbers every day. We just don't have the resource to do the analysis every single day, and especially it's time sensitive. And yeah, and regarding the test, the Mira is the FDA registered device, and also we register in CE as well. And we have done multiple clinical trials on the benchmarking Mira's results versus the lab instrument, like the blood drawing, like the huge lab instrument testing your blood drawing samples. And also we have done study into the application. So I saw one comment down there talking about IVF cycle. So that's actually super exciting. I personally very excited about that topic because now we're working with the some IVF clinics to see maybe certain tests we're doing in the IVF cycle, like in the stimulated cycle, can be replaced by urine test by Mira. So basically you don't have to go into, draw your blood every 2 days, and it will save a lot of cost for you, and it will save the cost for the doctor, and it's just the experience is not that painful. And also the data can be shared with the doctor live. So, maybe they say, wow, it's your ovulating today, you should come back to do the egg retrieval or start to prepare, so you're not going to miss that opportunity.
Yeah, and I think that this is so brilliant what you've done, Sylvia, because you're taking something that was kind of arbitrary, sort of guesswork,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're good at natural family planning and you've been, measuring your basal temperatures and monitoring the consistency of your vaginal fluids and
Yeah.
secretion, you're kind of like you said, like making almost like a guess in terms of that window. And what you've done is you made it so much more efficient for the woman herself. So if you are going through a very expensive process like IVF, which can be, traumatizing. I mean, we have some of our viewers here who have gone through multiple cycles and had miscarriages, and you're really creating a way for them to hopefully avoid, that devastating like repeat over and over IVF cycle pattern, because for the first time you've brought artificial intelligence to this, which actually allows you to really get a better picture of your fertility window and maximize it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think, we're talking a lot about family planning, and particularly with your friend who was 35, who was struggling, even though nothing was necessarily clinically wrong with her. She just needed to understand her fertility window better. And I think that this is very relevant because I'm not sure about you, Sylvia, but I'm not a mother yet, and I'm choosing to wait till probably the
Right.
very end of my 30s. And so I'm very grateful for tools like this because it puts the power like back into your hands. And like you said, women, you know, often in the past we're faced with a choice of, do we want to be childbearing or do we want to focus on our career? And so you're really maximizing our ability to get the best of both worlds, right? um, and then I just wanted to touch on as well, because it's fantastic that you've done the clinical trials and you're making this process for conceiving
Mm.
much more effective and efficient and timely, especially if you're starting to near 40, and every sort of fertility cycle that you have every month really counts and really matters if you're waiting towards the end.
Mm.
But in terms of even preventing pregnancy, this is a very helpful tool. So, could you talk a little bit more about that? Because we know like natural family planning methods can be 99% effective,
Mm.
but how, with your insights, could we really boost that effectivity?
Sure. Yeah, so that's a really good point. So basically, for Mira, what we're doing is to find your fertile window, find your ovulation, and very important that it's like if you're trying to conceive or trying to avoid pregnancy, you have to find the entire fertile window because you want to avoid all these days, right? So it's not just your ovulation. So to do that, you need to know your estrogen and LH, at least those two hormones. If you know progesterone, that's even better. So LHs tell you when your ovulation will happen, but that's just ovulation. That's your peak of fertility days. But we all know that the sperm can live inside the woman's mucus for up to 5 days. Depends on your mucus quality, depends on the sperm quality. So that means if we want to avoid the pregnancy, we need to avoid the 5 days before ovulation as well. So we need to kind of know ovulation will happen before the ovulation actually happens. And luckily, there's a hormone that surges or increases around that time. So that's your estrogen. So by testing estrogen and LH at the same time, you capture your ovulation, also capture your fertile window. So ovulation is within the fertile window. Here's a fertile window, ovulation probably towards the end. And here are all the 4 or 5 days you want to avoid if you're trying to avoid pregnancy. And the progesterone is very interesting too. So if you want to go even safer, you probably want to avoid all these days until the progesterone start to increase, because progesterone increase is a confirmation that ovulation has already occurred. And our egg has a really short lifespan. It's usually just a day, like 24 hours, or some people I think can go probably 36 hours, but it's really, really short anyway. But when you say progesterone increases, that means ovulation is completely down. It's usually a couple days, 3 days after ovulation. So it's minimal chance you can get conceived. There's no egg. Egg has died. So there's no chance until the next period starts. So some people use progesterone to understand when ovulation has already happened, and then there's the minimal chance to conceive. So that's another hormone you could do. And yes, natural family planning is a very interesting topic. We actually work with a lot of customers, who are practicing this, and they will also work with the professors, like university professors who invented certain methodology for the natural family planning. We're running the clinical trial with them, and we also work with the NFP teachers. They have certain teachers to tell them, what is the right method to do, how to practice, because it's all highly depend on how accurately you practice that methodology. When do you test or so on? And the insights, the professor told me is like, he found that the Mira, because it's quantitative, is testing multiple hormones, and they found many interesting correlations, between the multiple hormones or the differences across different women population. So they think that's very important for them to improve the algorithm or their methodology protocol for how to practice natural family planning. So that's something we're trying to work with them and trying to help them to even increase the chance for the success rate for the natural family planning.
Oh, this is so exciting, Sylvia. So what you're saying is you've found from your research with universities who are utilizing natural family
Yeah.
planning. So for anybody that's joining that's not super familiar, that is a method that you're tracking your fertility window and your ovulation so that you can avoid intercourse, or at least use condoms, because there's often complications, or if you have like a cardiac issue and you don't want to introduce combined oral contraceptives, which are hormonal, or if you don't have an implanted copper IED, there's methods that can actually keep you from getting pregnant, so that you can be, in control of kind of how you decide to go about your life. And I'm very excited about this, particularly for application and in areas where socioeconomic status is low, or people don't have access to implanted IUDs or oral contraceptives. And there are some areas in the world, I was listening to Melinda Gates talk about her foundation, and when she learned that there's some parts of Africa where even using a condom is suggestive of potential infidelity and can create a lot of rage and abuse in the relationship. I mean, this is you're giving power to a woman to be able to prevent poverty, because she can actually afford to take care of herself and not have more children than she can actually feed and nourish. And so this is a discreet way of actually preventing pregnancy. And it sounds like what you've learned from the research is that there are differences based on demographics or nationality that you're finding.
Yeah, so there are difference in different woman population. There is the depends on your age, experience, stress level, and your past the history of fertility, and there's definitely changes in your cycle.
This is amazing. Like the amount of insight that you're getting on the back end from creating Mira, and really empowering people to take control over whether it is, preventing pregnancy or actually being able to conceive. And so we had a couple of questions, Pepper Ann, and I just want to point out, we have users who've tried Mira who it's not just for your nuclear type family. We have somebody that is lesbian that is going through in vitro. And so that's where you actually are implanting an embryo. And so it's really important to understand where you're at in your fertility window for the success of that implantation. It's very, very determined on like the quality of the lining of the uterus at that time, and
Right.
you're provide that for your users. So yes, just to answer one of the questions that came up, in vitro fertilization can be helpful if people have not not a partner and they want to be able to carry a child on their own, and you can implant either a donor's sperm and egg that has turned into an embryo, or you can set aside your own egg and have it fertilized. And so I think that this is really excellent what you're providing for clinicians as well, who are on the other side of that, because working in primary care, I see a lot of the frustration with patients who have gone through so many of these cycles, and it can be really hard on the body and on the mind as well. And when you get to a state where you are really that stressed or doubting your ability to conceive, those feelings actually manifest as hormones in the body, right? So this is just such a great evidence-based tool to improve that process, and I'm just excited about what you're doing, Sylvia.
Yeah, thank you so much for that comment. I totally agree with you. And we have many customers, they have gone through multiple rounds of IVF or IUI, and there are no results, or people like they have been trying to conceive. Actually, last week at this time, I was on the live with another customer, like our customer, and she was in a really similar story. She had no luck for her second one. She was trying for the second one. It is really difficult. And after a year, no results. Okay, so she tried all kinds of tools, and then doctor was a good doctor, but eventually doctor said, well, I have nothing to do, so you probably will have to go to IVF. And she doesn't want to go to there. And then she was researching online, she found Mira. And then she was asking her husband, should we invest in this tool? And her husband is like, well, we're going through IVF, so this one probably should, right? Like a last try. She got pregnant in the first month. So then she can avoid all these things. I completely understand that the IVF, if you don't have to go through there, it's great. It's like a lot of hormone injection, stimulate the hormone, stimulate your cycle,
Yeah,
reach multiple eggs. It's just not that easy, especially if you want to go through multiple of them. As you said, the mental stress and your body, physical stress, all these things are not that easy. So, and we do have many customers, they found something, the reason. Sometimes people say, oh yeah, unexplained infertility. I personally, I don't really believe that. I think unexplained means you didn't find a reason.
yeah,
Everything has a reason, right? Maybe you're not ovulating regularly. Maybe you don't see your ovulation time, or you probably just need to change your lifestyle, improve the egg quality or improve the sperm quality. Things don't happen means the chance is too small for it to happen. But why is the chance too small? So
yeah,
there's way to improve that, as long as it's not a pathological condition. For example, you're not ovulating at all. But unexplained infertility usually means you're fine, you are ovulating, sperm quality is okay, but there should be a reason. So, as the co-founder of Mira, I'm just really trying to help people like that. If we don't have to suffer through stress or wasting money on certain things, and we can have better understanding upfront, especially upfront. I'm the same as you. I'm trying to delay my being a mother like again and again.
yeah,
Because there's so many other things I have to take care. I have to have fun. It just like you feel like you're just not ready until probably last minute. And I want to give people this freedom. I think we should have this freedom. It's our choice.
yeah.
Yeah, if we know information better, have better tool for us to go through the journey, we don't have to worry that much.
I think that's so powerful, and like, yes, your passion to give, um, whether it be families or single individuals, this freedom of choice is so beautiful. And even the insights that it provides, if you're not using it for preventing pregnancy or trying to conceive, we have someone that peppered in and said what it's helped them with is actually PCOS. And so I think that this invention, like they said, has given them hope. And so do you want to talk a little bit about what you've seen with your users who have PCOS, and maybe like improve their symptoms?
Yes, so PCOS is really common. So first, if you have that, don't worry about that. I think it's their data showing like a 10% uh, of the women in their like a middle age, basically in their fertile age, have PCOS. So it's a very common problem. And yes, you could use Mira for PCOS condition to improve that, to confirm ovulation, to track ovulation. The issue usually with PCOS is like you don't ovulate every month, or you don't ovulate at the same time, because your body is trying to release multiple smaller follicles or eggs in the cycle.
Right.
And healthy women, they probably try to release one or two per cycle, and usually that will happen. But when our body is trying to release multiple immature eggs per cycle, sometimes one will be released and sometimes it will not be. So it's just really hard to predict what will happen. However, when your body is trying to release egg, you will still see the hormone is increasing. And then that sometimes it's ovulation, sometimes it's not. It just means your body is trying. So that means if you can capture this opportunity if you're trying to conceive, and when you see the LH hormones increasing, and try to find opportunity to have sex or so on, maybe that will happen, because we never know. Nobody will know if that actually will happen. And then the second part is testing progesterone. So if your progesterone increases after that LH surge, so that means the ovulation does happen. So that's fine, right? So that's usually the way we recommend people to use Mira to do the testing. And also Mira solves another problem for PCOS women who commonly, which they commonly face. That is the many PCOS people have elevated LH level. So that means their LH baseline is very high. And then if you're using OPK, you will always got positive, or you got random positive and negative. It's just your baseline doesn't sit here, probably sit over there. And then the OPK will think, okay, anything above this line is positive. So you always have a positive. So you don't know when your body is actually doing a, even higher surge here, because everything above this line is considered as positive for PCOS. So that's another very common problem. But you can imagine that if you have the actual hormone number, and you will be able to tell when it's high, when it's even higher, so you can still see the peak of those, those hormone surges. So that has already helped a lot of women, with PCOS trying to conceive or trying to, measure the treatment. And also, if you're working with a doctor, and doctor usually will like to track to say, okay, you're taking this medication, you're taking this lifestyle change.
Yeah.
So how is that improving, right? So
Right.
is the hormone back into normal? Because that's the first thing usually you want to say. You want the hormone level to be back into balanced position, and then ovulation will happen normally. Your body will start to release only 1 or 2 eggs per cycle. So
Right.
that's another thing you can use Mira to try at home.
I really think you touched on something so important, and I want to remember the three things I wanted to circle back to. Well, when we're talking about PCOS, the insights that you are providing for the doctor and for the user are so key, because right now you kind of are just going based on your symptoms and how you feel, and trying to correlate that with lifestyle changes or medications. But by providing real time objective data, and like you said, being able to actually see, okay, no, it's not just positive, like this is the exact number on this day for this hormone level, you can, correlate that with, this is what I've been eating, this is a new medication that I introduced, this is how much I exercised. And so it really gives you real-time feedback and the opportunity to change some of your lifestyle interventions that we know do influence, our hormone levels. Maybe it was like you just had an incredibly stressful situation happen, and then you can actually observe those changes. And so you can try to implement more mindfulness techniques and see how that actually is changing the way that your body responds hormonally. So I think it's just beautiful. And then there's another thing that you touched on, in terms of like knowing when to have sex and having a more specific, accurate fertility window, because this is something that can be exhausting for couples who have tried, I'll share a little bit of my personal story. I had a very good friend. She was trying for, I think, 2 years to conceive with her husband. And so you can see how that would maybe take the joy out of sex. If you're every night, like, we just need to try to make this happen. And so this is actually, you know, a way to help improve the relationship and just have these tailored insights that you can share with your partner so that it doesn't become this objective check it off the box
Right,
duty, and you bring some joy back into the bedroom.
right.
um, and that being said, the I know a lot of our listeners today have struggled with maybe unexplained infertility, or didn't really have like the answers that they needed to conceive when they wanted to. And this, I just want to like reiterate, you're not alone. I was quite shocked because just I think it's in the southeast, when I learned about this problem that my friend was having, I was like, well, I was 25. I'm like, I'm dispensing an egg every single month that I don't intend to use. Like, I'm going to go donate. And I was quite shocked because there's always at least 70 people minimum that are just waiting
Mhm.
for. And so this actually is very helpful for that other end of the market as well, because um, we're given, you know, 2 weeks of follicle stimulating hormone to inject. And I just think that this would give you a little bit of reassurance in terms of like what you're putting into your body and what's happening. And yeah, so I'm not sure if you've had any customers who have used it during the donor cycle, but I know I would have appreciated some of these insights at that time.
Yes, actually, we do have very diverse customer base. We have as you said, like a lesbian couple who are trying to conceive, and then we also have egg donor situation. Yes, we do. So for them, if you're trying to get the egg, it's more like to get the egg out from the body. You have to know when the timing is the best time for retrieval or whatsoever. Even you're trying to do IUI at home, and you need to know the time for ovulation. So yeah, so Mira was pretty much, trying to help them to find the best timing, find the best egg quality. And it's interesting to know actually your egg quality decreases with time really quickly. So as we said, the egg only lives about a day or 1.5 days. So the earlier you can retrieve the egg, the earlier you can get prepared, and then when the egg is very fresh, and you can retrieve it, and it will significantly increase the chance of the concept. Actually, there was the scientific study about that. So for people who are doing IVF, so they did a study that if you retrieve the egg within 6 hours of the ovulation, the chance of IVF success is much higher. So yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So we're trying to, if you the concept is basically that whoever owns a body, like every woman, they should have the control of their own body. We should know our data. We should know how our body functions, what we should be doing. The body is pretty complicated, so it's not that easy to figure out everything, like exactly what I will do, and then I will get this. But there's still, there's a lot of rooms. There's a lot of things you can know a little bit better. Even just like a small step will help you to have a better control. So either you're trying to conceive naturally, trying to avoid naturally, or you're trying to, your lesbian couple trying to conceive, you're going IVF, going through IUI, you're going egg donation, all these things will need us to know that when ovulation will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm just excited because, like, obviously, for somebody that is like waiting for the donor's embryo to be able to conceive, and it's been a long period of time, you want the egg quality to be as effective as possible, right? And so this is really helping on both ends, for the donor's experience, for the recipient's experience, and for the doctor's experience, honestly, because, like I said, it can be very it affects you if you're empathetic, seeing anybody go through this numerous times. And I'm particularly interested. So, for those of you who have joined, I'm Lauren, I'm the founder of The Natural Nipple, a different space, but still perinatal care. So, my goal was to really provide preventative modalities. And so, when I learned about breast milk and how important that is for preventing unwanted medical costs, just getting to 6 months of breastfeeding can be really challenging because, if you're going back to work and you're introducing a standard bottle, what we found through our research with the National Science Foundation is that standard bottles, the shape, the feel, and the flow just wasn't innovated in over 200 years to actually match maternal anatomy. And so the natural nipple is designed for that seamless, stress-free breast and bottle feeding. You can put pumped milk in the bottle and be able to come back and get your baby to latch. Really, our goal was to reduce that latching frustration in terms of time to get baby back to breast or time to get baby on bottle. And I'm really excited because we've been able to do that. But for our customers, when you're breastfeeding, your hormones can change so dramatically. And I know a lot of user stories where they were just kind of shocked. They didn't realize that they were able to conceive during that breastfeeding period and ended up doing so. So I know one of your FAQs is like, can you use Mira to track ovulation during breastfeeding? And can you talk a little bit about that application and
Sure.
how?
Yeah, I think the common issue for that is our ovulation happens first before your period starts. So sometimes we think, oh, my period haven't come back yet. I'm totally fine. No, it's not like that. So the your body works in this way. Like when ovulation will happen first, right? So ovulation obviously controlled by hormone. So I should say hormone happens first, and then
Yep.
once the egg is ovulated and the egg didn't meet the sperm, so it's not being fertilized, and then it's gonna shed. So the lining of the uterus together with the egg, all this tissue, whatever blood, they're gonna shed. So that's what's called the period. So you can see that the ovulation will always happen before the period. Ovulation without pregnancy is a cause of the period. So that's why sometimes we don't see the period and we think it's fine. It's not fine. And obviously, if you wanna, you can track with Mira, you can track your hormone by other methods whatsoever. But if you are, you're breastfeeding, but you're sexually active and you want to avoid pregnancy, it's probably very good to practice certain birth control methodology. I'm not saying hormonal control immediately, but maybe in timing your cycle, maybe natural family planning methodology is very good at this moment. So it's very natural. You don't do anything to your body, but you can know when it's really safe to have sex. It's not gonna result in pregnancy immediately again. So because your body, the period is not really the clues that are gonna show up front before the ovulation happens.
Yeah, exactly. And just resonating what you've been saying, it's really putting the power back into the woman's hands to understand their body, to not be caught off guard, and to try to avoid just traumatic experiences like miscarriage or maybe an unplanned pregnancy. So I just am so grateful for what you've done and also for coming on and talking to our listeners. And so we got to wrap up, but I just wanted everyone to know who came in late that we're going to record this and it will be hosted as a podcast that we'll send out in about 3 weeks. So make sure that you sign up for our newsletter. Our site is actually under construction until Monday because I'm super excited. We're launching our pre-orders now that we've already beta tested the natural nipple and have seen it actually reduce that latching frustration and that time to feed and colic as well. So on Monday, head over to thenaturalnipple.com, sign up for our newsletter. That's where you're also going to get the coupon code for $25 off Mira. And yeah, is there anything else you want to pepper in, Sylvia, before we jump off today?
Yeah, so I'm just really grateful to have this opportunity to talk with your audience. As a co-founder for Mira, my goal is really just to help women whenever we can. I fully understand how challenging that is from the moment you're thinking about trying to conceive, and then the entire pregnancy journey, and then the giving birth, and then breastfeeding. Every step of this is a huge challenging for women in our society, because now we're not staying at home. We have our own dream, we have our own career, we have our goal to achieve. I have many friends, they have gone through this journey. It was a really stressful and uncertain period of time, even they have so many family and friends to support them. So that's why we founded Mira, and we hope whatever your goal is, I think by knowing better about your body, knowing better about your hormone, what will happen to you, or why you're feeling this way, those can be helpful information for you to adjust, for you to talk to a doctor, to have a better experience, to even, communicate better with your family, friends, asking for help. So yeah, so I'm just really glad to be here and have had this opportunity to share with you. So hopefully the information or the product itself can be helpful to you. And if you guys like to learn more about Mira, you can always go to our Instagram account, which is Mira Fertility, or you can go to our website, which is miracare.com, care.com. We have a lot of free information over there, like our blog, and they're all free. And sometimes we do webinars as well with doctors, talk about very common questions, and we have many lives just like this as well. So hopefully any piece of information can be helpful to you in your journey.
Absolutely. And I feel so grateful to have had you on because it's very nice to meet another founder who has a similar passion. You want to mitigate these challenges that women face and put control back in their hands and families, really. And I recognize after you get pregnant, the challenges don't end there. And, breastfeeding, for instance, women want to do the best thing for their child, but it's not easy. And to echo what you said, in a society now where, we want to prioritize our careers sometimes, or we want the partner to be able to feed. I've had dads come and say, I just want to bond with my child. I have feed envy. And I just want to be able to help my wife sleep in the middle of the night and feed the baby pumped milk. And so this journey to help make parenting easier, I think, is really exciting. And, you innovated in a space where this had never been done before in terms of femtech and creating this algorithm and applying AI to really give data-driven insights to the customer. And I was quite shocked that nobody had ever innovated in the infant feeding space for 200 years. And back in France is when the first nipple was developed. And it was at a time where you were expected to hide inside of your home for 6 months and not show yourself in public if you had just had a child. And we know that that's not really the way we want to live anymore. So I'm just very grateful for this opportunity to meet you, Sylvia, and I look forward to further collaboration, and also it's really empowering that you've created a sense of community as well, which I think is our goal too, to reduce any stigma or shame that might come up, and reiterate that you're still normal no matter what sort of challenges you've had in your fertility journey, how common it is. And so that's something we're really trying to do as well for parents that are trying to breastfeed, and really cut off that mom shaming and create a forum where people can engage and support each other like they did today in our audience. So thank you so much for being a part of this today, everyone who's listened. And thank you, Sylvia, for what you're doing in femtech.
Thank you so much. Likewise, I really enjoyed this opportunity, and thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a great day. And I look forward to getting our podcast out and our coupon code for 25% off Mira. So stay tuned. Don't forget thenaturalnipple.com to sign up for our newsletter. And it's what your website is?
Miracare.com.
Miracare.com. Perfect. Have a great rest of your day, Sylvia.
Okay, thank you, you too. Have a good weekend.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.